Were the echoings, remember? Were the echoings and faceful mirrorings we each and all be, in between that fulsome in between, that faceless tick-talking in between the demptiness of the back and the beyond. Heareful and thereful, you minored and minoring were the echoings and faceful mirrorings that shake out in percentage terms as follows. 1312%, 1316, 4%, 1716, 6%, 1716, 10%, 1312, 4%, 13125, 3%, 1712, 2%, 17125, 7%, 1313, 4%, 13134, another 4%, 170, 28%, and 1707, 22%, and 1704 prime and major, 4%. Percentages that are to be found throughout all speaking communities, irrespective of the language spoken. Percentages that have been on the go now for 10 to 20,000 years, following the out of Africa arrival of speech and the settled Mesopotamian agrarian ways of life, that followed on from that of our walkabout 1312 musensically exiling ancestors, hunting and gathering, feeding and fucking ancestors in between the fleeing of others. Settled agrarian ways, grounded then in the mutually agreed patriarchal wordy echoings amongst males that justified both the enclosure of land and females and the familial appropriation of their offspring, and a total denial of their natural promiscuous ways. The labour invested in the care and maintenance of both, justifying such wordy claims of ownership. Wordy claims of ownership echoed within the wordy echoings of all 1707 aristocrats and 1716 militocrats and 1312 or 17125 theocrats. Echoings first written down in coherent wedge-shaped cuneiform in 2500 BC, and later in Greek vowelized Canaanite alphabetical form by 1000 BC. Alphabetical writings that by 500 BC had given us both the tyrannical text-bound wonders of our theocratically minded 13125 Israelite ancestors, and those Homeric ones of our theocratically playful aristocratic Greek ancestors. Echoings long bagged and bundled by the min-majored Middle Eastern and Western mu-minoring governing elites. Platonic echoings of first-class abstract forms, and those Abrahamic ones of second-rate bodily concretes, and Mosaic promisings of far betters yet to come. Platonic echoings alongside Aristotelian syllogistic echoings of mortal types mirrored in substantial Socratic-like forms. Substantial water, earth, air and fire-bound forms, conditioned all by his, Aristotle's, four causes, namely the material, the formal, the efficient and the teleological. All four being bagged and bundled in his grab-bagging prime mover. Aristotle's prime mover. Aristotelian echoings later outshone by those of Plotinus, the Neoplatonic one, and his great chain of being, beginning with that most perfect of perfect ones, namely God, and descending through angels, humans, animals, plants, and ending in the lowest of low, minerals. Likewise with the Yahweh sponsoring Mosaic tribal echoings, having been earlier outshone by those face-saving Pauline wordings grounded in God's grace and his tyrannic son's selfless sacrifice for the sake of all mu-minoring and minored sinning sinners like ourselves. 17125 echoings, later championed by the sex-obsessed Saint Augustine following his abandonment of his earlier Zoroastrian 171 and Neoplatonic 1707 echoings. Echoings all, incorporated into the echoings of the Prophet Muhammad and his 1716, no son of God, sword-wielding, empire-forming followers. Echoings later grounded in the Aristotelian and Neoplatonic critical writings of their occasionalist philosopher Al-Ghazali. Occasionalist Allah Akbar echoings that allowed for the whimsical interference with the workings of the Aristotelian four causes whenever the great Allah saw fit. Echoings championed in the West by their very own philosopher Saint Aquinas, who used the existence of the four causes of Aristotle to syllogistically prove the existence of God. God being the greatest grab bag of all greatest qualities. The fulsome grab bag of greatest qualities necessarily carries existence within. If it were without, how then could it possibly be the fulsomely greatest of gods? It took another 500 tick-tocking years before the philosopher Kant pointed out that existence in itself was not a quality and could therefore not be bagged along with all the others. The thought of existence is certainly a baggable quality, but existence in itself is not. existential wordy echoings were certainly a worry for the Indian philosopher Nagarjuna and his 1316 Buddhistic brothers, unlike their 1707 Hindu cousins, their Neoplatonic-like cousins. Nagarjuna, in his MMMK-rooted text, argued for the essential emptiness of all things, grounded in their lack of any essential nature, throughout their endlessly ending, tick-tocking moments of change. Shankara, on the other hand, in his Hindu-rooted texts, argued for the essential oneness of all things, grounded in Brahman, the placeholder of all individuating Atmanic, tick-tocking moments of fulsome change. Changeful talk, wordfully echoed throughout the Enlightenment, the European Enlightenment, tick-tocking 17th and century periods of European times. God simply becoming then the Descartian guarantor of all thinking things reason. Critical wordy echoings of individual and group contact coming there then to the fore, in the midst of civil butchery and the resultant elimination of the divine rule of kings. Parliamentary representative government, the result, which has been triumphantly echoing its ways forward ever since. Tick-tocking representative governmental moments, recursively appropriated and powered historically purely in terms of the interests of the min-majored triumvirate. The triumvirate of 1701 aristocrats and the 1716 militocrats and the 17125 theocrats and their 1313 bureaucratic and 13134 criticocratic enablers, never so far in the interests of all those worked and minored. Tick-tocking wise, it took a couple of centuries before all such propertyless, worked and minored workers were given their say in the choice of representatives. In terms of percentages, though, they constitute 46% of the body politic, establishing then the triumvirate and their enablers to perpetuate their rule. A rule grounded in the supposed principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Happiness is aristocratic, grounded in the consumption of the works of all others. Dressed up militocratic happinesses, grounded in the determined annihilation of others. And the theocratic happinesses, grounded in the undeserved betterment of self and all others. faceful happinesses, grounded all in the thereful ways of both major Dacts 1 and minor Dacts 2 of the new-minded recursive program running us all. Flavorful, individual, wordy echoings and faceful mirrorings we each and all be. Flavorful infancies having confined us all to one of the 266 sets of mimetic dipolar types. Set differences that results in each member subject, just like yourself, having nothing in common with any and all other member subjects of any of the other 265 sets. The only thing common to us all is that set emptiness of the back and the beyond. Unmatched mirrors of calamity we all, both sexually and socially. Recursively programmed to endlessly repeat the infantile ways of our original Ma and Das until death do us part. So how on earth can we make better? Simple. Establish first your very own mu mode, which I presume you've already done since you're now here. Work out then which of the theatrical Dacts you are presently immersed in, and fast forward to 3. Search out then Dact 3 fellow member subjects of your dipolar mimetical sect, mimetical sect, and ironically act out then hereful and thereful thy kingdom come mirrorings, whilst helping all other Dacts 1 and 2 types in the piecing of themselves together and preparing them all for their very own kingdoms to come, purely for the sake of mutually mirrored eyefuls of happiness. Parenton then in this happy-full, third-full state would simply then involve tick-tocking good and thereful and hereful mummy and daddy moments as the little buggers deserved. As far as dealing with all the little big group-minded buggers out there, solidarity with all empty-faced others is called for. A lightsome solidarity that would call for an immediate laydown of all arms, whether pocket-sized or rocket-sized, in the context of a universal disbandment of all armies and the dissolution of all nation states, followed by the coming to be of a global welfare state, charged with the satisfaction of all bodily needs and the elimination of all mental and bodily suffering. A global state algorithmically run along corporate lines that would necessarily require the institution of a universal cryptocurrency for its smooth operation. One managed at the local civic level by some individuals charged with the responsibility of ensuring the efficient running of the amenities of day-to-day life, and the proficient education of all others in the mutually mirrored, happy-faced ways of the Dempty accepting. Nothing now could be easier given the Dr. Manny's findings, DG's findings.